Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kyra and today I'm going to be talking about my #1 eyeshadow palettes from all of my favorite eyeshadow brands. So I've seen this video concept going around in a lot of different capacities here on YouTube. But the first video that I saw that inspired me to do this one was from MandyLea, and I will have it linked down below. She talked about the #1 palette in 10 of her favorite eyeshadow brands. I don't have 10 favorite eyeshadow brands personally, so I was able to kind of narrow it down to 5 different brands that are my favorite eyeshadow brands, hands down. But I wanted to be real about the brands that are favorites for me. I also wanted to come from a place of having tried all of these palettes for quite some time. And I'm going to show you a few of the runners up just for fun. So let's go ahead and get started. One of my favorite eyeshadow brands, probably pretty damn close to the top if I'm being honest, is Anastasia Beverly Hills. And in case you missed it, I did do a collaboration with Heather Austin here on YouTube, and we did a ranking my Anastasia Beverly Hills palette video. So I'll link that up in the cards in case you missed it and in case you want to see what my rankings looked like. So the first runner up, or in third place for me from ABH, is the OG Norvina palette. When I look at this, I just think bohemian, hippie, just 70s. It's definitely one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I love the colors in here. They really speak to me and they're really consistent with my personal aesthetic when it comes to wearing eyeshadow. And the first runner-up, or in second place, would be the ABH Soft Glam palette. This is definitely one of my favorite neutral palettes. Definitely a warm neutral palette for sure, but warm neutrals are what tends to look best on me. But I also really like the very soft shimmery options. It's soft, it's feminine. You could go everyday or you could go glam.
So fuzz or net? Something's flying in the air.
My #1 favorite Anastasia Beverly Hills palette right now is hands down the Carly Bible palette. Again, just like the Norvina palette, this is so my vibes, my aesthetic. I love the soft tones in here. This shade Moo right here has got to be my favorite gold in my collection. It's so flattering on my eyes. It just has a beautiful shine. It's not too yellow, it's not too light, not too dark. It's just perfect. And then the other shade that is definitely a favorite in here is this one called Mandala. I mean, I like all the shades in here, so it's really hard to say what is a favorite and what isn't, but I do love that duochrome called Mandala. But I also really enjoy the mattes in here. This sort of khaki green brown shade is a beautiful crease shade for me. I also love this shade called Bible, just blown out all over in the transition and the crease area in just about any of these shades layered over the top. But you also have a couple of fun pops of color down here that you can play with and play with layering other shadows over top. I still don't feel like I've scratched the surface of the amount of looks that I could do with this palette personally, and I just love this. This is hands down my favorite palette from ABH currently, although it was a very hard choice because I do love ABH shadows. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite affordable eyeshadow brands. Of course, there were other contenders in terms of brands in the affordable category, but for me, it's 100% ColourPop. I have 4 ColourPop palettes currently. If I had to rank them, I would currently say that in last place is Double Entendre. Don't get me wrong, this is a stunning palette. There's a lot of shades in here that I really love. This is the palette that my hubby picked when he picked all of my makeup for a full face. I'll link that up in the cards in case you missed it. It was a really fun video. But this is beautiful. It's just that I have a lot of warm neutrals in my collection, so this isn't the #1 palette that I tend to reach for from ColourPop, but it is the same fantastic, blendable, smooth, easy to use formula that I've come to know and love from ColourPop. Probably in third place would be my You Are a Cutie palette. I got this in March, I believe. No, February. This was around Valentine's Day. This one does have a Super Shock shadow in here, which is really pretty, as well as this duochrome. It's kind of got a purple base with a beautiful blue shift. Hopefully you can see that there. But I do love this palette overall. You have to like pink though in order to like this palette, and I do like pink, but I have to be in the mood for a pink look when I reach for this palette, so that's why it fell where it did. Coming up in second place, and I will admit it was very hard to choose between second and first place which was going where, but in second place is my Going Coconuts palette. I do love this palette. I love the shimmers. I love the mattes in here. I like that you have a little bit of variety. Just an easy palette to reach for when I'm trying to get out the door. I don't know why I'm so winded. What the hell? What in the hell is going on with my hair too? I'm having a hair day, if you can't tell. Anyhow, I reach for this when I'm in a hurry. I will put a matte in the crease and then pick one of the shimmers for the lid, and I really love this for that purpose. I think the thing that ultimately landed this in second place is this very sort of like chunky, I'm not going to blend it out so you can see, it's a very chunky shimmer, and it's just not my fave. However, coming in at #1, a palette that I am so glad that I finally bought. I tried to talk myself out of it multiple times because it wasn't going to bring anything to my channel in terms of being able to review it or anything like that. This palette was old news by the time I picked it up. However, I still see it in a lot of people's collections, and I still see a lot of people talk very favorably about it, and it is the Dream Street palette with ColourPop and Kathleen Lights. This is stunning. I love every single shade in here. I think I could travel with this palette and be very happy with the multitude of looks that I could pull out of here. The metallics are super duper smooth. This deeper brown right here called Elfish, it's got to be like my perfect deep brown in my collection. It has a little bit of like plum in it, but I just love that shade for a deepening shade on the outer corner, as a liner, lower lash line, you name it. But let's talk about the metallics. First and foremost, there's a duochrome right here called Kaleidoscope, and it's pinky and it's got like a teal shift, like an aqua blue shift to it. And it's just such a beautiful topper. I have a hard time reaching into this palette and not reaching for that shade, as I mentioned in my swatching all my duochrome video, which I will also link for you. I went through every single palette in my collection and swatched all of my duochrome shadows, and this is definitely a favorite for me. The other two shades that I really love are this one right here called Twinkle, and then this one right here is more of a satin, but it's such a smooth, soft formula called Moony. So here's Twinkle, shine, 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 and there is Moony. And of course, I really like the turquoise shades in here as well. They perform really well. I don't find the turquoise matte to be patchy or anything like that. And this is definitely a color that goes beautifully with all the other shades in the palette. So this is #1 for me from ColourPop. Another brand I'm pretty sure you guys know that I love for eyeshadow is Lorac. Between 2 and 3, it was really hard for me, but I went ahead and put the Lorac Luxe Diamond palette at #3 for me. I do love this palette. It's pretty neutral, but there's definitely some stars to this show. You have a duochrome right here. Some of these lighter shades up there just shine like the dickens, and you definitely can get a very glam or everyday look out of this palette. Honestly though, I just haven't had enough time, not enough time, I haven't played with this enough to really move it up in the rankings too much, especially as a neutral palette, because I have so many that I already love. And then coming in at number 2, I love this format and I was super excited to get this palette. It's possible this palette would have come in at number 1 had I had it longer, had I used it more. But for now, the Lorac Mega Pro 4 comes in at number 2. I really like this palette. I think it's quite balanced in terms of, you know, depth. It's very much light, medium, dark, but even the darks aren't super duper dark. Really love this duochrome, which I also swatched in my duochrome video, called Unicorn. It's a beautiful pinky purple blue duochrome shadow. But overall, I just really like the textures and the colors that were chosen for this palette. So I do know I will get a lot of use out of it. The Lorac formula is definitely a favorite for me. It's very effortless to use. It's very texture friendly in terms of any of the metallic or satin shadows. So that's always a win for me, not getting any younger over here. But how many of you guessed what my number 1 Lorac palette is? I tried panning this one year and I felt really successful at that, but overall this is just a favorite palette for me. It's one that I keep out on my vanity top at all times because I have a lot of that color recall. As I've talked about before, my mind palace of makeup, I can recall these colors, every single one that's in this palette, and when I want a color like that, I'm reaching for this one because I love the formula. And it is the Lorac Mega Pro 2. You can see that mine's absolutely filthy. There's only so much you can clean it. But you'll also be able to see I have had a ton of use in here. I have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought I had 6.
5 pans in here, and some of my favorite shades in here. Ooh, so hard. Definitely Prosecco right here, and also Olivine right here, and what else? Soft Plum is also probably a favorite. The mattes are great too, but nothing that I'm like, oh, you have to see this. So this is Prosecco. Look at that. It's like a liquid. And then Olivine is that beautiful, dirty olive gold shade. I die. This is literally the most beautiful shadow. Ugh. And then Soft Plum is more of a satin, though there's definitely a good amount of shine there. I like sort of all of these, especially these lighter metallic shades down here, satin shades. There's one that's like more of a cream color, more of a pink color. This one's chiffon. You have Moonlight, which is a little yellowy, and then you have Seashell, which is more peachy. And to me, this is like the quad of inner corner highlights or brow bone highlights. They're very soft, not too shiny, and then, you know, depending on which color you pick, you can play off the colors in your eyeshadow look. Hands down, one of my favorites, if not my favorite eyeshadow formula, is from Persona Cosmetics. I did go ahead at the end of 2019, pick up the Identity 2 palette, and I was not in any way, shape, or form disappointed. These are beautiful, unique colors, totally consistent with the first palette in terms of performance, formula, blendability, all of the things. And I think for someone who's looking to get into color and like pair some of these fun colors up with some fun neutral colors, this is fantastic. You have your staples brown and black there. You've got this matte cream color and also a beautiful like camel brown for a transition. And then you can play with any of these shadows, throw like a gold or a champagne a little bit overlapping one of these shades, and you have a really wearable look with a little bit of color. However, nothing, not any one of these palettes that I'm talking about today, nothing could beat my #1 palette for the last 2+ years, the Persona Identity palette. I'm surprised I don't have tan in here. I probably would if I didn't have so much damn eyeshadow, but this is hands down my #1 favorite palette in the 60 palettes that I own. Stunning. I love the mattes just as much as the shimmers, but I will swatch a few favorites for you. #1, I really love this matte plum shade called Chic. That was harder to say than I thought it was. And then I also really like this taupe shimmer called Seductive, and another one of those greeny olivey shades called Bombshell. You can see, just look, it almost looks like a shimmer. That's how smooth the matte shadows are from Persona. And then here is Seductive, that beautiful taupe color. And of course, I am a sucker for a shiny green shade. And this definitely pairs beautifully with the second palette. If I had to get rid of all of my eyeshadow, every single one in my collection, and keep one palette, that would be it. I don't want to do that, but this would be the one. One brand left, and this is probably, I don't know, second or third favorite formula or brand in my collection, and it is Natasha Denona. The first one is the Lila palette, or Lila. The mystery's never been solved. Every single person that mentions this palette says both, so we'll call it the Lila palette. This was my first experience with Natasha Denona shadows, and if I had to pick a second runner-up to the palette that is my #1, this would probably be it. I've gotten a ton of use out of this palette, as you can probably see. There's just, again, a lot of shadows in here that I don't feel like are represented in other places in my collection. There's quite a few duochromes in here. And then the other palette that was a gift from my hubby is the gold palette. I love the shades in here. Oddly enough, one of my favorite shades is this brown right here. I don't know, it's just like my perfect brownie, bronzy, one shadow color, and I love that. Of course, I love lime chrome, just like everybody else. I also really like this cream to powder shadow in the shade Python. Love this as a liner. Really fun, especially to add to some of the more yellow golds in this palette. But overall, just a fantastic palette. This formula is outstanding. And by this formula, I mean all the different formulas that she does. Probably my least favorite formula is her Chroma Crystal formula, but those are not all created equal, because in one of the palettes that I'm going to show, I love the Chroma Crystal formula and everything in that one, but this one just falls a little short. It's a little dry. I feel like it has a little bit of hard pan. I don't know, but I do love this palette. Then we have the Love palette. I got this in February when it came out, and I did do 7 looks with this palette, so I'll go ahead and link that for you in case you missed it, or in case you need some inspiration because you have this palette too. But this was super fun. I think this is probably one of the most well executed palettes from Natasha Denona that I have tried in terms of the different formulas and shades and things like that. One thing about Natasha Denona that's definitely true in the gold palette, if not elsewhere, her mattes sometimes, while they're the best mattes I've ever tried, they don't always have the most difference in the shades. And in here, I felt like she did a really good job making sure that the different pink mattes were not all the same pink matte. I love these 2 duochromes in here. I just love this palette. This is really, really beautiful. And again, like everything else, I want to play with it some more. We're down to 2 mini palettes, and the one that did not make the cut because I simply have not had it long enough, but I will put up in the cards the video in which I did 2 looks and a review, and that is the mini retro palette. This is the one I was talking about. This Chroma Crystal shadow is what every one of her Chroma Crystal topper shadows should be like. It's very smooth, and while it's like flaky, it lays down on the eyes really beautifully. And of course the mattes in here, like, this is my jam. These are the kind of colors I love to wear. This is an everyday palette for me. And like I said, the one and only reason it didn't come in at number 1 is I just haven't had it long enough. I can't really give my full stamp of approval until I've started making some dents in there, if that makes sense. So, coming in at number 1 for my Natasha Denona palettes is my mini star palette. And that's probably surprising to a lot of people, but I'm going to show you I have dents in all of these shades here because I use this a crap ton. When I'm in a hurry, when I want to take the guesswork out, when I want to go glam, when I want to go neutral, I reach for this palette for everything because I love every single shade in here. So this is Orion. It's like a blue brown, I don't know, but definitely my favorite blue brown I've ever tried. This one in the middle is Bellatrix, and it is a straight up metallic shadow. It's like a champagne. And then the last one, the green one, which is technically a Chroma Crystal, is this beautiful sort of olivey avocado green. I guess I could see where the green one is more of a topper. It is a little sheer, but I've never had any trouble layering it over the mattes to make it be, you know, the star of the show. Get it? Mini star palette. Anyhow, these are beautiful. I love the shade Bellatrix in the middle. I'll just use the 2 matte shadows, put Bellatrix on the lid, and call it a day. So like I said, this is one that's like very easy. But that's it. Those are my top 5 eyeshadow brands and my number 1 palette in each brand. I hope you enjoyed this video. Special thanks to MandyLea for inspiring this video for me, and I'm sure for others as well. I hope you are all staying safe and well at home. And I hope if you're wearing makeup right now, and I hope you are, I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely number 1 makeup days, and I will see you in my next video soon.